Mr. Perry, some of the other writers and I came up with an idea, a movie idea, about a black woman who's not mad, she's not angry, and she has nothing to be depressed about.
Is she dark skinned?
Yes.
That bitch gotta suffer.
Before anything, I want to say rest in peace to Miss Cicely Tyson. I mean, one thing about Todd Perry, he don't give Cicely Tyson and Felicia Rashad some work to do. I mean, she done been in nearly all his films, and that's fine. That's one of the things that is good about him. But I mean, she's an icon, and it's always beautiful to see that Black people reach old age and really live their life and like get to be old and enjoy being old, and people really showing her love and appreciation. She really got to live, and that's really beautiful. So rest in peace to Miss Cicely Tyson. You will be missed. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to my channel. This is Brownsugar Commentary, and I'm your girl, Kayla. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe for more videos. All right, let's get right into it. So today I want to talk about the man, the myth, the legend, the Tyler Perry. And this comes from, I told y'all back on my Black Films video. If you haven't watched that, check it out. But I wanted to give Mr. Tyler Perry his own video because there's so much to unpack here. And I want to preface this conversation by saying, look, I know that people love them some Tyler Perry. I know your aunties, your mom and them, they love them some Tyler Perry. I grew up watching his plays and his movies and all that good stuff. What he's been able to accomplish in Black Hollywood in general is unprecedented, right? This is something we have never seen. He gives Black women work, which is something that I can't say for a lot of other Black directors, Black writers, and the like. And like I said, sometimes they don't really have much control because of network. And because he owns his stuff, he has more leeway in doing so. And he made a Walk of Fame and put all these Black actors and actresses in there. Really, really dope stuff. I mean, like the fact that even the Versus was able to take place at his studio, it's literally an exit in Atlanta. Like if you go to Atlanta right now, you'll see his studio as a thing, and I think he's quite charitable. He gives a lot. That's all fine and dandy. However, I even think that Tyler Perry has the potential to make some amazing films, and he's made some amazing films. I think that I really like The Family That Prays. Is that movie completely 100% perfect? Should it win awards? No. But I think out of all his films, that movie is probably his best. And I might have a separate conversation dissecting and going into that movie. But today's not that day. Okay? And I want to be clear that just because you critique someone does not mean you hate them or you're hating, because that's what people love to say. That's not what I mean. Where I'm coming from is really a place of like concern, because I feel like you have the power to do so much. You have all these things at your disposal, and you chose not to do that. You chose to take your career in another way that's really at this point like ridiculous. So what do I want to start by saying? What I want to say is that, I mean, who doesn't know who Tyler Perry is? He's a writer, he's a director, producer, he's an actor, technically. And he got his start around 2005 with the film Diary of a Mad Black Woman that he made. And he was started off as a playwright. He made plays with, centering this character, Medea, who is this like no nonsense type of matriarch who gives great advice. And she has her heart in the right place, but she usually goes to unorthodox methods to get things done. She carries a gun, she cusses, she smokes cigarettes. His plays usually have Christian values within them and women centered. And like I said, there's a certain demographic that his movies and his plays reach. However, they were fairly popular, right? Like, you remember that time when your mom and them was buying bootleg Tyler Perry plays, and it caught on real fast, right? And which gave him the access to create films. And since then, he's made over about 45 films. a good chunk of television shows between the OWN network and BET and TBS. I think House of Pain is one of the longest running black sitcoms of all time. They even brought it back. Accomplished a lot, and of course, black people love them. Black people love them some Tyler Perry. Like I said, I have literally seen every film this man has ever made because my mother always wanted to see them, and when I got older, it's just out of curiosity. But there are some problems here. There are some big, big problems here, and we're gonna break that down today. Okay, so let's get right into it. So I want to talk about Madea Goes to Jail because that's the movie that inspired me to make this video now. Because I was kind of waiting, like, how would Ingo want to go on, and what exactly do I want to say to make sure I get everything across what I want to say. And so I watched the movie, and me want to start talking about it because I feel like this movie perfectly shows the problem with Tyler Perry films. Looking at IMDb, literally the description of Madea Goes to Jail, which came out back in 2009, it literally says mischievous grandma Madea lands in jail where she meets a variety of mixed up characters. Who wrote this? Who wrote this? But you want to know something? That's dead what this movie is. Like, it really is that shallow. Like, that, like, hollow, that whatever. And I'm going to tell y'all. Okay, so Madea Goes to Jail. It's basically about a guy named Josh, who's a lawyer. He is engaged. He seems to have a really great life. And one of the time during one of his cases, he gets assigned, I'm assuming he's a public defender, and he gets this assigned case to a woman dealing with, I think it was like a prostitution charge or whatever. And he says, oh, I can't take this case because I know this woman. And so everyone's like, what? So then his fiance ends up taking the case and whatever. So now he sees that this is a girl that he knows from childhood. They were childhood friends. They fell out in college. And that's kind of what we learned at the beginning of the film. And then as time goes on, we realize that, or we see Josh trying to establish a relationship with her. He's trying to rekindle their friendship, but she's very hesitant to it, because we see that he's done her wrong in some type of way. We're not quite sure yet, but we know something happened in college. And his fiance, Linda, who is the devil reincarnated, basically hates it. She's jealous. She's upset. She doesn't understand why he cares about her so much. She slut shames the hell out of Candy over and over and over again. Simultaneously, while this is happening, we have Madea, and if you watch the movie, I think it was Meet the Browns, like very few movies that don't have Madea in it, or the earlier films that don't have Madea in it. And you remember about midway through the movie, it was Cora and Mr. Brown, and they were watching the news, and they see that Madea was in a high-speed chase with the police. So obviously they picked up where that left off. She, goes to the courthouse, and the judge basically says, look, this is kind of your final straw. You got to stop getting in trouble. That whole bit. And so she ends up, she was supposed to, I think, get imprisoned that day, but they forgot to read her Miranda rights. And if you don't read somebody Miranda rights, you can't really, doesn't count as an arrest. So, yeah. So while this is going on, we see Madea doing her usual, getting into shenanigans, getting into some mess. And both Candy and Madea cross paths when both of them ended up getting put in jail. Both of them end up getting put in jail. They end up meeting each other. They actually become quite cool. And yeah, same Linda woman was handling both of their cases. And so while the movie goes on, like I said, you have these moments of Madea getting into stuff. She's supposed to go to anger management. That doesn't help. She's supposed to be on house arrest. She doesn't listen. She gets into this altercation with the Karen woman. I don't know her name, but she's supposed to be like a Karen archetype type of person. And that's that whole, altercation is what ultimately ends up like getting her in prison. And for the Candy girl, we see her, like I said, Josh is trying to be her friend. We later learn that it is because he ends up He is the reason why she gets sexually assaulted back in college, and that is kind of it not necessarily is the cause, but it is a contributing factor to how her life kind of turned out. I'm pretty sure after the situation, she drops out of college, she goes to find work, and then she ends up being into sex work and having abusive relationships. And so Josh always feels guilty or responsible of how this whole thing turned out. So he's trying to help her. He's getting a lot of pushback from his fiance because she doesn't understand. She's not empathizing. She thinks, oh, they are romantically involved or whatever. And then, as time goes on, we find out that Linda was the one, or she padded charges on literally all her cases to make her look better and to ensure that her whoever she's going against, I guess, is she working for the state? I don't even know. They never make these things clear. I ain't a lawyer. I don't really know too much about a lot. But basically, she's making herself look good and winning all her cases because she's padding extra, spread a little parsley in everybody's charges to make herself look like, oh wow, I really caught a criminal. And then I think his best friend finds out about it. He confronts her. She says, oh, she blackmails him, and so he stays quiet. But her and Josh have this back and forth until finally he finds out what she's been doing. He calls off the engagement. He runs to Candy and says, I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to love you. I've been in love with you and blah, 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 blah. And he pleads his case to everyone and talks about how, all these women are in jail. They don't need to be in jail. They have extra sentences that they don't need to have. And, yeah, and then, it raises awareness. People are starting to advocate for these women. And eventually, I'm pretty sure Linda gets indicted and presumably goes to jail herself. And Medea gets out, and Candy gets out, and her and Josh ride into the sunset, into happiness. Roll credits. Okay. Of course, there's some more things. Number one, what a cast. We have Keisha Knight Pulliam. We have Derek Luke. We have Viola Davis with her little, I chimed in with the haven't you people ever heard of, closing the goddamn door wig. Like, come on. In her prime, before she really pops off for real. Sofia Vergara. Like, this is a very star-studded cast. George Mathis is also in this. I love me some George Mathis. Me and my father used to watch George Mathis all the time when I was a kid. I love him so much. And the Judge Maybelline lady, I'm pretty sure she's also one of those TV judges that we used to see back in the day. And she's been in a couple of Tyler Perry movies. But I think those are all like the real big people. Oh, my dude from Sister Sister, I don't know his real name, but Tia Boyfriend. Yeah. He neither here nor there. So that's never a problem with the Tyler Perry film. He always knows the talent. He know how to find some talent. It's because of him why we really knew who Idris Elba was. I know he was in The Wire, but like I never watched The Wire because it's in my house. We did not have no HBO. So Daddy's Little Girls where I got introduced to him. Gabrielle Union, I'm pretty sure that's the first movie where she was like a main person other than Bring It On, I think. Everybody done been in his movies. Janet Jackson, Taraji, Angela Bassett, literally any black person you can think of, any black actor, actress has been in a Tyler Perry film, okay? So he's never one to like not give black people work. He's never, at least in that sense, he's never one to not put dark-skinned women in his work, which I can't say for a lot of folks. So that's never the problem here. I think everyone acting-wise did a great job. I think that Derek Luke is good for a cry. If I remember watching this movie the first time when he had that scene where he broke down, I broke down right along with him. And Keisha, she did a great job. And that's like I said, it's never the problem. The problem lies within the writing, obviously, and the direction of the movie. Because who is this movie about? It's called Medea Goes to Jail. Medea doesn't even go to jail until about halfway into the movie, or maybe even further into the movie. Most of the movie, when she is in jail, it's sped up. There's this montage where you see like the calendar, go through the days and the months. So, to speed up time. We see about 3 or 4 scenes of her in jail at best. Like, And it wasn't really about her being in jail. It was more so about what was happening outside of jail. And Medea's had billions of movies, right? Medea goes to jail. Medea goes to space. Medea goes on the magic school bus, god damn it. Like, however, what can you say that you know about Medea in these films? Okay, you know she's angry. You know that Cora is her daughter. You know, we know that she likes to carry guns. We know all of that, but we don't know why. And while the scene that she has, and we were gonna learn a little bit why, right? Because she got, when she went to anger management, she hung out with Mr. Dr. Phil himself, and Dr. Phil was asking the questions that we've been dying to know from day one. Why is Medea the way she is? Why is she so angry and on 10 all the time? What is up with that? And yes, the scene is funny with the her kind of repeating the questions that he's saying and him getting irritated. That's funny. It's good for comedy, whatever. However, instead of taking that moment and asking him, like, could the deflection be a result of you trying to avoid talking about something deep about yourself? Like, really getting to the meat and potatoes of why Medea is the way she is. And that would have been interesting. Would it have been as funny? No. But at least it would have gave us some type of inclination of who the hell Medea is as a person. Like I said, we've watched over 20-something movies, because out of the 45, 20-something of those movies are Medea focused. But we don't learn anything about her as a woman, right? That's what we're led to believe. We don't learn anything. We don't. She gives this wisdom. There's a point in the movie where she's in the jail, and it's like Viola Davis's character has this little like church-esque meeting, and a woman's talking about she can't, instead they're talking about forgiveness. And one of the inmates are talking about, I can't forgive my father because he, I'm assuming, assaulted her in some type of way, and she can't let it go or whatever. And Medea gives her the advice, like, you need to let it go because he's living his life and you're sitting there bitter, and you need to take accountability for what you've done. Like, yeah, you probably had a crappy childhood, but that's not really your parents' fault. Like, they did with the best they could, and you should just move on with your life. And while I can understand the sentiments behind that, it's like, if your childhood, your parents, all that stuff is a foundation to make you who you are. Yes, when you get older, you need to do the work and get help and do better. But if you're not given the proper tools to do so, you're never going to do better. Obviously, by her being in jail and her going to this thing, it's going to start making her do the work to be better. So when she does eventually get out of jail, if she does, depending, because I don't know what she's in there for, then maybe she'll be better, right? Maybe, because really, in all actuality, jails don't really do what they're supposed to do, which is rehabilitate people to get back into society and be productive members of society. But it's, and that's what Medea does. She's always giving the sage wisdom. She's always having all this insight, and she gives this great, like, no nonsense, blunt advice to people. And for the most part, it's helpful. It makes sense, whatever. But don't learn. That could have been a great moment for people, for Medea to sit there and say, you know what? I had a crappy childhood. My mama was this way. My daddy was this way. And that's why I ended up, I'm pretty sure she said she was a stripper at one point. And I was a single mother. And I had a hard life. And yes, I make stupid mistakes, but I own my mistakes. Like something like that. That could have been a great moment for a great monologue, to be quite honest. But we don't get that. We get nothing. And then what I hate about most of these movies is you have these silly, stupid moments with Medea, and they're usually juxtaposed right next to or come either before or after a very serious moment. I mean, this movie is very heavy at times. We're talking about assault and trauma, and every time there's a scene where Candy's going through something crazy, or we just found out something not crazy on that end, it's a scene about Medea. Like, it's like, do you want to be funny or do you want to be serious? Do you want to tell a cohesive story, or do we want laughs? We can't have both. Like, dramedies work sometimes, but like the way that like the antics are upped in Tyler Perry films, it's like to 1,000. Like, no, you can't have it both ways, because this movie really could have done something amazing. Number one, it could have told the story of Medea and her origin story, because they led us to believe that that's what it was about. Like, literally in the beginning, they show all these pictures, right? And she's constantly going to jail, and she's always been in jail, literally since she was born. And like it's this whole movie montage. It starts with the I guess it's like the department, the lawyer's office, where the public defender's office, talking about Medea and all the crimes she's done, right? And so but we don't learn anything. We get nothing. And so that could have been that was a missed opportunity right there. Second of all, the jail part was a very missed opportunity. Once again, funny moments, right? The I killed 18 men thing, hilarious. Um, but it's hollow because once again, we could have sat there and really dived into the problems with the legal system in America, the criminal justice system, because we don't do that in movies, right? We have a whole bunch of cop films and police brutality films, and as valid as those some of them can be, I don't even hear about that anymore. We know police suck, but there's not much movies about jail, like other than like the police breakout film or like those type of films. Or I remember I watched a film back in when I took this class called Incarcerated Scarface, and I learned about what's his name? I forget his name. He was a boxer, and his nickname was like Hurricane, and Denzel Washington was in it. Great film about prison. You should definitely check it out. I don't remember the name of it, but it's really good. It's a Denzel film. It's about like this boxer, and he got wrong. I think he was wrongfully incarcerated, I want to say, but I can't remember too many prison films. Like, and there's Life, but which is a comedy, and like there's not much. And many black people are in jail for some nonsense, right? The criminal justice system does not love us. We are wrongfully in prisons all the time. They give us like super high bond like amounts that they know we can't pay them. Literally, people get all types of abuse in prison. Like, people get the pattern charges. So that was a good like starting point with the pattern charges thing, but it goes really nowhere, because really the only reason why this woman does it to get revenge on Candy, because she took her man. Like, it's like, no. Let's get a little bit more. Let's talk about it, right? How the criminal system sets black people up. Or let's talk about how people criminalize sex work, and how a lot of those men that will sit there and arrest these women will sit there and go pay for a sex worker, go to a strip club. It's what it is. Like, and then this movie does this thing where it's just so much we can learn about, like I said, the criminal justice system, and especially when it comes to women. Like I said, I feel like people forget that there are a lot of women of color, black and brown women, that are in jail. And like I said, most of the time it's for a victimless crime or something minute like drug possession or being an accessory to a crime, because maybe they might have a significant other that was involved in something and they just got wrapped into it. So much stories that could be told, and they don't get told, right? Because the only like really example we have of women in prison is Orange is the New Black, and that's not really centered around black women. It's more so it's centered around a white woman. Yes, there are black characters in there and their stories somewhat, but it's all about Piper and her experience. So have done that. We really could have got into something. We don't even learn any of the women's stories in jail. We only know Candy's because of Josh. Other than that, even her best friend. What did we learn about her best friend? Why did her best friend get into sex work? What's her life like? We don't know. Even that woman that was talking and complaining in the scene I was just mentioning. What about her? Why is she in jail? Even the 18 men girl. I don't even know her name. What is her story about? Why was she what's her situation? Like, we get nothing. Like I said, it's called Medea Goes to Jail, but we don't really talk about jail much. And we're barely in the jail. Like, so what? And like I said, if it's supposed to be, we don't learn nothing about Candy neither. There's so much there with her character that literally didn't get explored. Like, okay, we get glimpses here and there. Only things we know is what Josh knows, basically. And we learn about the situation with her and Josh, not because he was really apologize. He does eventually apologize to her, but we learn the whole story because he tells Viola Davis's character. And Viola Davis's character in this movie is very much same old, like, oh, here's a middle-aged woman who is a Christian, and she's there to be an ear to listen to, and he dumps all this emotional trauma on her, and she's there to pat him on the back like, no, son, it's okay, you're gonna make it, it's not your fault, you gotta let it go, baby. Like, I just, no, ma'am. And love me some Viola, but and this, like I said, it ain't her fault. Like, this is not her fault. You get the script, you just gotta read the script, baby. Like, this is what it is. I told you it's a great scene, but it's like it's very like pandering. She's just coddling him. Yes, he should not carry the guilt of what he done to that girl, what he's done to Candy all these years. He needs to forgive himself, and he also needs to ask Candy for forgiveness. But at the same time, like, I don't care. This movie should have been about Candy. Let's talk about it. How does a young girl who has so much promise get into, this dangerous situation? And then, like I said, she talks about her dad being abusive and them being friends. And then they talk about what happened in college. And then she mentions an ex-boyfriend that was hell of abusive. And we see her that one scene where she gets caught up with this guy who's trying to be her pimp. We see this when she tries to get a job, and the person conducting the interview tries to assault her. Like, we could do so much with her story, and it's literally not told. And that's the problem with Tyler Perry films. They're supposed to be women's focused, but I see the males more than anything else. I learn more about the men than anything else. And the woman's voice, her story just literally gets lost in the sauce. And it's really all about Josh. And at the end of the day, all her problems get solved. No. I mean, she seems to that jail has helped her. We don't know because we wasn't in there like that. And then Josh is the reason why she gets out of jail and they get together. He literally dumps his fiance right in the day of the wedding, goes to the jail, I guess requests a visit with Candy, kisses her and says he loves her and he wants to be with her literally like seconds later. And I'm like, that is not realistic. Like, even if he had feelings for her, like love, and the kissing, and what? You can't even give yourself time to breathe. You were literally with this woman for months. Like, what? Even like that, just it's the plot holes for me. It's just that. And then it's just like I said, we could have really done a lot with telling women. If you want to organically tell women's stories, even Viola Davis's character, what is she about? How did she get into this line of work? Was she once like into the same thing? Like, how does that work for her? What is her connection? We could have done so much. We could have done so much, and we didn't do it because we want to do funny gags. Like, all the scenes of Medea could have got taken out completely, to be honest. We could have taken all that out and been given something else. I get that Medea is the vehicle for which we get to jail and why we get to see some of these things. But like I said, in the jail, what did we really learn that we didn't already know? Like, nothing. We didn't learn more about jail, the criminal justice system, or corrupt lawyers. We didn't really learn anything. We just learned that that girl that we already knew was a crappy person is still a crappy person. And then the messaging was like off because, like I said, you try to say, okay, people who do sex work are people too. They have a story. They have the whatever. And you have Linda, who was, like I said, very slut shamey towards Candy. But and you have we see Candy's a real person. She has real trauma. She's going through some real crazy stuff. She's in a bad place in a really unfortunate situation. But then you have a scene with Mr. Brown. It's like a scene where Mr. Brown and Cora go to the house and there's like a house party going on. And there's a woman and she says, I'm a prostitute. And like starts, dancing and whatever. And Mr. Brown like puts holy water on her. Like I said, I get it's supposed to be a joke, but that's very contradictory. You have on the one hand, people like that type of joke going on, but then you want to talk about Candy and like she's the victim or whatever you want to give. You want to give her a voice or whatever you're trying to do. I don't really know the motivation behind this, but it's two very contradicting messages. And don't even get me started on the fat phobia. And I told you that Joe is very much a Sambo character. He's ignorant. All he does is spew fat phobia at Medea and call her names and really like this disgusting thing, calls her a man, like whatever. It's just disgusting. And like Medea, like I said, she's a combination of a Sapphire and a Mammy trope, where she's a matriarch, she's asexual, like she'll joke around, but we've never seen Medea with a man ever. I mean, she has Cora, and we are led to believe it's Mr. Brown's kid, but I'm pretty sure Medea's happy family, we find out that it's not his kid. So we really never know who he is. We never see her flirt or really be with anybody. Like, she just kind of lives to serve her family members in these very unorthodox ways. And she's also just angry all the time, full of rage all the time, but we don't know why. There is really no reason. We don't know. So that's the problem with Tyler Perry films. He says that he wants to give Black women a voice and tell our stories, but we're often very silenced. And he thinks that literally all our problems are gonna be solved with a good Christian man, usually light skinned. Like, this is one of the first movies where it wasn't a light skinned man. Like, there was no dark-skinned male villain in this movie. It was a racially ambiguous woman that was the villain, right? And the criminal justice system, that was the villain. But that's usually what it is. It's usually he's not colorist with women, but he's very colorist when it comes to men, in his movies. Even though it feels like the darker skinned woman, if there's a light skinned, darker skinned woman, well, no, not all the time. Like I said, everybody suffers. All the women suffer. They just suffer differently. Because even if I'm thinking about family reunion right now, the light-skinned girl was in an abusive relationship, and the darker-skinned girl was abused her entire life. I do think colorism does play a part in darker-skinned sister was treated with Lit Winfield's character. I definitely think that's what the situation was. However, do we explore that? Not really. So that's what I'm saying. Like, he likes to include Black women without really, like, including Black women. You can tell a man made this movie. You can tell that, like, it's just saying a lot of things without really doing anything. Like I said, I mean, the people who are watching these movies are not really critically analyzing it as I am. Like the first time I watched this movie, like I said, it was enjoyable. I thought it was funny. I thought it was, like I said, I got the emotional beats. But as I got older and I really watched the movie, I was like, this movie is stupid. Like, it is. Like, it's not just saying a lot and doing nothing. Like I said, the funny parts are still pretty funny. But it's just, at this point, okay, you can be funny, but what else? And the problem with Tyler Perry as a whole, as a creative, is that he doesn't want to do better. Over these 40-something movies, they have not improved. And in fact, they kind of got worse. Like, when we think about A Fall from Grace, people are literally playing, like, Where's Waldo, trying to find the editorial mistakes in the movie. The movie had so much plot holes and extras eating invisible food and freaking bad wigs to the weird filters. Like, people were really having a ball with all the mistakes. Meanwhile, Tyler Perry was there boasting about he made it like in a week, and we can tell. Like, it's the same thing when you write a 10-page essay the night before. You could tell when it's not good. Like, that's not a brag. Or when he sat there trying to show all his scripts one time that he made in 1 year, talking about work ethic, and I'm like, once again, not a brag. Hustle culture is not admirable. You working yourself to the bone is not admirable. Too many times, Black people have been told, like, oh, you're a machine and you just need to churn out all this stuff. And what do? You spend your whole life working and not living. It's Tyler Perry to go watch some Soul. That's what he need to go do. He need to watch Soul. Because your life's purpose is not to churn out work. You're not a machine. You need to take rest. Especially you're not spring chicken either. Like, relax yourself. Because that's all you're doing. Like, oh, capitalism will solve all your problems. Like, and I remember it was of Reeds who said this best in a rant that he said about one of my favorite YouTubers, who said something really profound and it always sticks with me about Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry once had this really endearing speech at one of the BET Awards. He won the Humanitarian Award. And he was talking about him building his studio. And he said, oh, well, y'all are too busy trying to get a seat at the table. And I built my own table. And people ate that up, right? Everybody was like, oh my God, yes, build your own table. But what good is building your own table if you're the only one sitting at it? Right? Yes, he puts actors and actresses on, but he does not put women writers on. He doesn't put on young filmmakers on. I don't know any of his proteges or anyone who really works under him that's trying to be who's going to carry on the Tyler Perry legacy when he's gone, like, or when he wants to retire. Like, we don't know any of that. He makes movies about women, Black women, but doesn't put them in the writer's room, and it shows. Even in the show like Sisters, like, it's called Sisters and it's about women in their like late 20s, 30s, and he's writing about it. What the hell do you know about being a 20-something year old, like, in 2020. You don't. You know nothing. And it shows, like I said, it's just all about just dating and and it's very drama, like very, very like drama filled and all these stupid antics. It's like sisters. And when you even watch a show, like you think about sisters and think about a show like Girlfriends or Living Single, it's just like, or Insecure. I guess that's the contemporary show to compare it to, or even the other shows written by other people on the network. There's I think it's a Lena Waithe show called 20s. Even watching those two shows, it's so different. Like, and I guess that's more of a drama, but no, even there's a new show called Bigger, so different, like way different tonal shifts in the movies. And that's the thing, like, and you can tell that women wrote on those shows because they're literally different. They feel real. Like, sisters, none of those characters really feel endearing to me. They don't feel like anything. Even he has a show called Bruz, I think it's called, or Bruh. Same thing. Yeah, you've been a man before, but like you don't know nothing about being a millennial man. You don't. You are so far removed from that. And same thing with these movies. It's like, I see what you're trying to do, but it doesn't work. And he's so like, oh, like, I'm okay with the work that I make and that, it's not for me. It's not going to win Oscars. Nobody's saying you got to win Oscars. We know the Oscars is racist, but damn, give us something. You have the resources. There's no reason why you had a career that spans over 20 years and your work has gotten worse. Like, don't even get me started on Acrimony or Temptation. Like, please. And the trauma porn that is for color girls, like, because that's all it is. It's just black pain. And then there's a church scene, and then we find a good Christian light-skinned man, and we run off into the sunset. Let's have a movie where the woman doesn't choose a man in the end. Let's find a movie where she just chooses herself. Let's do a Eat, Pray, Love. She just go on a journey and just goes finds herself, right? Like, that's part of the reason why I think of Family That Prays was one of his best films, because it wasn't really trying to do much. Like the scenes with it's and Alfre Woodard, and they go off and they go on the little like cross country trip. Oh my God, cinema! It gave me Thelma and Louise. I loved it. They weren't doing any crimes, but you know what I'm saying? Like cross country, two girls just have these two women going out having fun. Just they're two different women. One's black, one's white, one's rich, one's she's not necessarily poor, but she's not as privileged as this other woman. But they have just they're so opposite, but the friendship works. They have good chemistry. Like more of that. It wasn't trying. Like yes, there's the stupidness with like Sanaa Lathan's character, but I don't even care about that. This was what I like to see. Like, just do stuff like that. Like, I hate it. Because even Why Did I Get Married, while it's not as traumatic as some movies, it still has the problems. It still has issues. Because all the men in that movie suck. Like, period. Like, to a Tyler Perry, I just want him to do better. It's ridiculous. It's 2021, and I need you to, if you're gonna, you have the resources to really make amazing movies. Like it don't even gotta even be amazing, just kind of good. Like just kind of good. And black women are so much more than their pain. But if you're gonna show their pain, show like really show them like let's get an understanding of who they are. Let's see them work through that pain. Let's see them go to therapy. Let's see them really find something that they love, something that they're passionate about outside of relationship and marriage. Because these women will go from one crazy bad relationship and then hop on the next man they see, and then we're supposed to believe everything's all good in the end. No, because that's not how life works. All your issues are not going to be solved with a man. It's not. And it's like I see that you want to make movies about women. That's fine, but like that's not how you do it. And like I said, like with even these suspenseful movies he's going now, like no. I said this before and I'll say it again. Everybody keeps doing this debate about who is the real villain in Acrimony. Tyler Perry's the real villain in Acrimony, because what the hell was that? We could have the conversation. We could talk for days. But that's my whole point. My point is, if you're gonna make movies about black women need to be in the writer's room, and that's on period. I'm pretty sure he used to have a writer's room, but he got rid of it because he didn't want to pay them or something about them unionizing, which is trash. No. Churning out 30 stinking scripts a year doesn't make any. It's quality over quantity every day of the week. I'd rather you make one movie every once in a blue moon than you make 30 movies in a year. Honestly, I'd rather you really take the time to make some movie that's really saying something instead of just regurgitating a bunch of cliches and not really say anything. Also, let's stop with the colorism with the black dark skinned men. Like, yes, there's some movies where they don't do that, but literally it's like dark-skinned man bad, light-skinned man good. What is up with that? What dark-skinned man hurt you, Tyler? Let's stop that. Let's really do some. Let's really make a film. Yes, you may not win awards and you are okay with that. That's fine. But you also don't have to like make a thing out of trauma porn. Like, it's not a thing. If you're gonna show trauma, like, do it in a way that it makes sense why the trauma is being shown, not just showing trauma for the sake of trauma. Like I said, Black women are way more than their pain. Show them in all of their sides. Show them as three-dimensional, fully fleshed out human beings, not under the guise of a man, but really like who she is. And like I said, you're not gonna do that because you don't have people in your writer's room. That's why all your movies are literally the same. I'm all for directors having aesthetics. I mean, every director has some type of an aesthetic. Even Spike Lee, like, you know what, that Spike Lee, it has jazz, it has hip hop. You have the double Adobe shots, we have the monologues. You know it. Even if he didn't put his name on it, you know he has some influence in it based on how it's shot. That's not the problem. The problem is you have these motifs and they're not better, they're not getting better. It's just the same old thing, and it's really tragic because, like I said, you have all this thing at your disposal. You are this huge household name. You can literally make whatever you want, and you choose to make this garbage, and we're supposed to be proud of it. Yes, Black people can make mediocre things, but like, not after 20 some years. That's unacceptable. It's time to get people in the writers' room, Tyler. It's time for us to start doing better. I want better for you, because that's really what, at the end of the day, what this is really about. I just want him to do better. That's just it. Well, thank you guys for watching. If you made it to the end, let me know what's your favorite Tyler Perry film. You know what I mean? And yeah, thank y'all for watching, and I will see y'all in my next video. Peace out, y'all.